All right, Ryan, it's always interesting to talk about new players. And that's what we are going to do in this episode today, Ryan, on this Tuesday afternoon. Again, thank you for joining me, Ryan. Lou Lopez. Lou Lopez. It's it's crazy because all of a sudden, like she has she has stepped on this UConn stage, not even literally yet, but it just seems like that she was a star. Uh, it's folding out this way. Like she is a star before she even steps onto the basketball court for the UConn Huskies. I think that's pretty special. When you're under such a legendary head coach, and I think more people is developed and more people has seen uh, what kind of player she was at Fairfield. Obviously, Gino saw it. So now we get a actually two articles covered on her. Fearful transfer to Lou Lopez, fitting right in with this team. And then you had the early impression of UConn women's basketball transfer Lou Lopez, and they said that she's fitting in great.
Yeah, I mean, I know all the UConn Husky fans can't wait for Lou Lopez to finally break out into this regular season with her new team. And Gino was in contact with the AD from Fairfield. And Fairfield, obviously being such a small school, Gino even admitted that he didn't really know a lot about Lou Lopez until some of his coaches and scouts brought her to his attention. And, once Gino looked into her a little bit more, he was like, she's the one. She's the one that's going to come to UConn this season. We're going to get her from this transfer portal, and she's really going to shine. And the AD from Fairfield told Gino, Lou's a kind, competitive, engaging, tough kid. And Gino stated he's seen all those adjectives expressed throughout these first 2 weeks from out of the summer workouts from Lou. So Lou's really fitted in great on and off the court. In an interview Thursday morning, she said, quote, "It's been good. I'm really excited about it. It's a fast transition for me. I graduated 2 weeks ago and had to come right away, but it's gone really well. Learning a lot and embracing every day here." So it's really great to hear that from Lou. And we've talked about the chemistry of the players on the court before, but I don't think we talk about it enough. If there's a lack of chemistry, not just on the court, but off the court as well, it shows up in games and it affects everyone on the team. Playing as a team, very, very important to the success of any basketball team, not just for UConn, but it's really great to hear that she's fitted in really well with her new teammates and the new team. And something else I found interesting at Fairfield, she was listed as a forward, but UConn, they have her listed as a guard slash forward, and she's been working out with Paige and Nika. So I think Lou's going to be a very dynamic and versatile player for this team. I think she's going to provide some very big minutes for the Huskies throughout the whole entire season. And I know there's a lot of people, including me and you, that are very, very excited to see her in a UConn Huskies jersey.
They were right away. I remember the day you told it about a month ago, I think, and you said, "Oh, Phil, they have a transfer out of the portal." I was like, "Who is it?" Lou Lopez Senechal from the Fairfield Stags. Say, Ryan, we have to go cover it right away. And I'm glad we
Yeah.
did. I know you're glad after that outcome. But she is a transfer. She was a senior from Fairfield. What I found interesting, I didn't even realize until just now. I admit to you that she's 6'1". So there's definitely, I don't think there's not a problem as far as the height being a height concern, and her being that the inside guard, maybe playing more down inside the paint more often, try to get her the ball first and rebounding, also rebounding. We saw the Huskies having trouble in some games this past season. They got out rebounded. And I know Gino doesn't like that. If you miss a basket, you gotta get it back, so you got to get the ball back. It never hurts to have the ball in your hands. That's the goal, obviously, make your baskets. But at the end of the day, Ryan, how about we talk about the time of possession, how long you have the ball in these games. That's big.
Yeah, and not allowing second chance points. And I think that's something that really, kind of cut them through. And the one of the main reasons I'd say why they lost pretty much both times to South Carolina in the regular season and in the championship game. they were just getting out rebounded and giving up too many second chance points, and it's sometimes even third and fourth chances on the same possession. For other teams, we talked about UConn always getting offensive rebounds, but at some points they were just allowing too many defensive rebounds to slip through their hands, not getting aggressive enough attacking the boards, and that really hurts any team. Anytime you give the opposing team more chances on any given possession. So it's definitely going to be really big for Lou. I really think Lou can play in the wing guard position, or even like you mentioned, down in the paint. So I think she's really going to be a very valuable asset for UConn for the upcoming season, whether she finds herself in the starting lineup some games or coming off the bench. I really think she's going to be a valuable asset this season.
And we already know how so many times that even with the healthy roster, so many nights you don't always expect. And really, I mean, if this is the case, so be it. Paige Bueckers leads all scorers in almost every game she plays in. If that's the case, so be it. I won't complain. But we already know with this active roster, Ryan, that there's so many kids, so many young ladies that can score on this roster. So any given night, you have any player on that, and I'll go as far as saying you don't know about the rookies coming in, about the recruits. You don't know, they could lead even when, especially with it being a weaker conference. You don't know which player will step up, take advantage over that weaker team, and we could see all kind of leading scorers, leading rebounders, leading assists for any given night. You just can't always. If you're sitting here now, a UConn fan, you can't always say, okay, it's going to be Paige Bueckers leading in points, assists, and rebounds every game. No. All right, because this roster is so loaded. I'm sure that we've all come to agreement with that. With that said, Lou Lopez complements this group very well. I mean, she averaged 19 and a half points a game during the 21-22 season. Actually, this was her season stat. So she averaged in her whole season 19 and a half points a game, not per game, just during the season. I keep saying per game. And then 4.6 rebounds I saw. And about 1.1 assists. So she was about 44.9 field goal percentage. Obviously she can improve. Everybody always can improve their game. The numbers, I'm not going to lie, the numbers are not flashing to me. The 19 and a half points average a season, that's pretty good. Now, the other numbers, they're not flashy to me, especially with the field goal percentage, 44. Almost 45. But with that said, you have to think, and I took a step back. I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, just think about this. Not to take any away from the Fairfield head coach, not saying anything bad about that team, that school, but Lou Lopez, Ryan, is playing under a great basketball system. All right. And she's also playing under Gino. All right. If that doesn't tell you enough, then I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, and that's something Gino also brought up in that interview and in the article. We talked about the Fairfield head coach found specifically Lou found her ways to score at her time in her 4 seasons at Fairfield. So Gino talked about this the offensive system, and Lou kind of getting used to it, being able to find certain ways and certain plays that finding her spots on the floor. So kind of like Dorka last season when Dorka came in, she was kind of struggling her first couple games, and Dorka went up to Gino and said, how can I score? And Gino said, we're going to make you, find your shots, encouraging Dorka to just find her game, find her shots on the floor. And it really worked out well for her. So I think Lou's kind of in the same position, being able to find her spots on the floor and just working with her teammates. But 45% field goal percentage, I'd say is pretty good, but definitely the assists and rebounds, I think we might see a spike in those for this upcoming season, especially with the powerhouse that UConn is, because UConn, like you mentioned, every single person on the team can score, and their passing and the offense is unreal. So I think we're definitely going to see a spike this season, even if it might not be points for Lou, but rebounds and assists. I think there's a lot of ways she can help out the UConn Huskies.
With two quick points, and then we'll get into comments very quickly. So, I wanted to mention to you, Ryan, as far as Lou Lopez goes, I strongly believe if Gino did not think that she would be a big contributor in this system that they run. And then just overall, as you know, helping them win. I understand it's about winning. If he didn't think that this was the one, you know, to fill in maybe a gap or a hole that this team needed on the roster, you know, if he did not think she was the one, then I don't think that she would be on this team. You know,
Right.
I really don't,
Yeah.
because why, if you're a head coach, right, you're just going to go, okay, here's a random name right here on the list. I'm going to go pick her and we're just going to put her on the team.
Yeah.
No. All right. And then second, what I was going to say, tell you second, was about the health last year, the health, as far as we talked about with Maria, the injuries that the UConn Huskies had, that they had to go through, and then the COVID that hit them, the illnesses that hit them all year. Some of the girls got sick during the season. With that said, now we're expecting not everyone to get, you know, stay healthy, that is, as far as physically, mentally, and not to get any kind of illness, you know. Hopefully everybody stays 100% this season. With that said, it's also very interesting to see how many different players score, lead in scoring, rebounds, assists, and make defensive plays in every game. Because think about it, if you're on schedule, if you're on a set roster now, starting five almost every game, right? Almost every game, it's still, with the power on this team, the talent on this team, you could have a leading scorer. Paige could lead all scorers in the beginning of January, let's say, and you won't see Paige Bueckers be leading scorer again until the end of January. I know that's a big prediction there, but hey, it just might be that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely believe it. I'd put my money on something definitely happening like that throughout the entire season. And I think one of the main reasons, along with her scoring ability, speaking about Lou, I think it's her experience all 4 years at Fairfield.
Mhm.
So if we do see some of those injuries pop up for the UConn Huskies again this season, I think Lou is one of those players. You know, the longer she's on the team and working out with her teammates, and Gino, she really proves to Gino that she has the capability of starting. I think Lou's one of those players that Gino can just, you know, shove into the starting lineup, let's say, for one game. And I think she'd do great starting for the UConn Huskies if it does get to a certain point where there's a bunch of injuries in a game. So I just can't wait to see Lou and all the other players. But Lou is definitely an exciting prospect for the Huskies this season.
Okay, here we go. With that said, they came through very well again, Ryan. 3 takeaways from UConn Huskies summer workouts. That was June the 11th, Ryan. We will go with, how about Joseph Turner Jr.? That's a new name that I never saw yet. Thank you, Joseph, for coming through. They really just need to be mentally tougher. That's all he said.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that, because I think at some points in the season, it's kind of easy to let your mental state, especially when you get on a losing streak, and losing streaks usually aren't something that UConn and losing streaks usually don't use those two words in the same sentence or phrases. But I think at some points in the especially last season, it would have been easy to kind of just falter away and kind of lose your mental state, especially with everything that happened. But I think UConn's a very together team, playing together as a team. I think it's definitely one of their strengths. And when you compare them to some of the other teams that they even play on their schedule, I think you can definitely tell a difference of UConn playing as a team and some of these other teams just not having the chemistry that the UConn Huskies have.
343, 3434, excuse me, arc 1. Another injury, Avalanche. He put Avalanche. I thought that he was maybe talking about the NHL Stanley Cup final, but I'm not too sure. Another injury, Avalanche, like last year, is mercifully unlikely. What UConn accomplished last season, given the obstacles thrown at them right through title game night, was astounding and still underappreciated. If this UConn team, 22 to 23, stays relatively healthy, I'd bet on them over anyone. Ample talent is there for sure for another UConn string of greatness. Also, hate to say it, but as much as I loved them, some critical court inconsistency in some very big games has graduated and moved on. Whoa. Okay, Ryan. Well, we definitely don't want to think. I know diehard Huskies fans don't want to think about it that way, but are we in danger of talking about taking a step back when we basically have this team making the championship game again?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting point. I mean, Paige Bueckers has 2 years, and then of course
Now you're lost. Now you're lost.
we have AZ and Caroline for 3 years, and
Yeah.
UConn's always going to have more prospects and top 5, top 10 recruits that come in. But
Yeah.
I think from last season there was a lot of inconsistencies,
Okay.
especially with the missed layups, missed shots, talking about getting open and not converting. So I think there's definitely a lot of things UConn can work on this season, but there's a lot of new faces coming in this season. So I definitely agree. If they stay relatively healthy, I'd pick them over almost every team. I would pick them over every team in women's college basketball. But staying healthy, you can't predict injuries, so who knows? But I really do believe in this team for this year, especially if they stay healthy.
I like this one a lot. Thanks, Tom, for coming through. Tom goes, "Hi, guys. Fun show as always. First, thanks for listening to me and reading some of my comments. I suspect I come off sometimes as Mr. Negative than some. Based on you guys and the comments read, I so suspect I am one of the oldest of your subscribers, if not the oldest. I'm a UConn grad. That's very cool, Ryan, and a varsity jock many years ago. As such, to quote you, Phil, I go back to Rebecca Lobo and the teams so I have a somewhat different perspective. As for Paige building herself up, I completely agree. Whatever she can do to get even stronger will be a big help this season and in her future. Great show and keep up your enthusiasm. P.S. There is a lot of Paige's high school career on YouTube, courtesy of a local station out of Minneapolis, going back to when she played for Hopkins High School varsity as an 8th grader. She was so skinny, then they called her Olive Oy. Best regards."
Yeah, well, thank you. Appreciate it. I mean, we love all the positive and negative comments, but I'm sure there's a
Ryan still has trouble gaining weight in the gym. So Ryan, Olive Oy, baby, Olive Oy.
yeah, but I mean, talking about Paige, she's such an amazing player. Like we said in the past episode about trying to put on some pounds and gain some weight, and being able to play, especially on the defensive side of things, it helped her tremendously. But yeah, I mean, we should definitely try to look at Paige when she played high school, because you know, like we mentioned, we only started following her as soon as she got to the UConn Huskies and had breakout games, and you know, we said we got to get on this right away. This is something special. But yeah, it's interesting to see sometimes a player's growth from high school all the way into college. And something I think it probably doesn't get talked about either is their diet and off the court workouts that can help a player tremendously gain weight, gain muscle, and help them out on many different ways on the court.
How about Howard Wood, Ryan? This one's for Ryan. All of them are for Ryan. I've been watching Paige since she was in the 8th grade, and you could see she was special. I compare between Larry Bird and Steph. Whoa, with Steph Curry, being in the NBA Finals. Shout out to the Warriors, by the way, Ryan. One win, even though you think it's a game 7, one win away from world champions.
One win away. Yeah, Curry didn't have the best game last night, but I mean, Paige, it's definitely a great comparison. And Gino compared her to Diana Taurasi, so she's definitely showed some flashes both of her season during freshman, especially because she stayed healthy the whole entire season. She had such a great season for UConn, and then last year as well, even though she got hurt, especially when she came back and played through the Big East tournament and the March Madness tournament and the NC State game, obviously, and tried her best in the South Carolina game as well. But just seeing her in that NC State game really just kind of solidified what kind of leader and sort of team captain she is, especially on the court for UConn. She just does so many things, so many clutch shots for this team. So It's just so special to just watch her and sit back and watch her play is just truly incredible.
Ava goes, if the mind is right, last one. If the mind is right, the body will catch up. Gino was always about challenging players so they can become better. Great ones accept the challenge. They are motivated, eager to learn, to prove themselves. He is not preparing his players for the season, but for their future as professionals. No matter how season went, there is always a lesson to be learned.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think that's why we've seen so many UConn players graduate from UConn and have successful careers in the WNBA and even in overseas play. Gino is such a great coach, and he doesn't, he obviously thinks about winning college championships, but he thinks so much of every single player and tries to help them out as much as possible in terms of their future career after they graduate from UConn. So that's I think that goes to show that's why we see so many UConn players getting drafted into the WNBA, and it's definitely interesting to see all these players after they graduate how they do in the WNBA.
All right. With that said, Ryan, we'll leave it at that. We have a very special interview dropping on Friday. I know the Reagan Beers interview was very special, although not a UConn Husky, not a future UConn Husky. This interview features a future UConn Husky. So I'm guessing a lot of people that follow us, Ryan, will be looking forward to Friday as that drops. Shout out to Austin on that. And then we will most likely, Ryan, if you want to go ahead and take Iva's idea up for it, we might as well get into breaking down every single player on this roster and the coaching staff, not only Gino, but the players that sit behind, or the coaches that back him up.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. So let's get started on it tomorrow. We'll have one of those out for you guys tomorrow.
Listen up with Phil and Ryan. I'm out.